Hello, everyone. Hope you all been well. Today on Ghost Travelers podcast, we'll be talking with Alan and Chris from a paranormal group in Pennsylvania called Soul Seekers Supernatural. Today, we'll be talking to them about how they got into the paranormal field and also about their upcoming investigation that they're doing in Gettysburg this weekend. So please join us on this journey with Alan and Chris. Alan and Chris, thank you for coming on Ghost Travelers podcast. How are you guys today?
Pretty good, thank you.
Yeah, we're good. How are you, man?
I'm doing good. If you could, can you tell my listeners a little bit about yourselves and how you guys got into the paranormal field?
Um, yeah. Actually, me and Chris, we've always been kind of in the musician thing. We've done bands and stuff like that. And as time's gone on, people drifted away from that. And me and Chris, we've known each other for a long time, 25 years, and we kind of lost touch for a while. But when we hooked back up, he told me that he was doing some ghost hunting, some paranormal investigating. Just messing around with it, kind of like a hobby kind of thing, and asked if I wanted to kind of maybe get into it with him. So we basically started going out, just small places, very minimal equipment, and we found out that we were actually pretty good at it. And spirits started to respond to us quite well. So that's kind of what started it all, and we've just been rolling ever since.
So, did you guys had any kind of experience when you were when you were a younger age, like in your when you were a kid or something that really draw you more into the paranormal field?
Um, yeah, go ahead.
I guess yeah, we could feel different things, like you were in a place you could tell was haunted, and you could just pick up these vibes and things. Like I always had that as a young child. I know.
Yeah, pretty much same here. And just like everybody else is like you or whoever's listening, you always heard the bumps in the whatever was going on in the dark, and you just never could figure out what it was, and you could always just feel you knew something was there. I mean, I'd see shadows or whatever, but way back then when I was a kid, you just kind of shrug that stuff off. It's just like I'm just scared of the dark, keep my light on. But as I've gotten older and where we are now, if I look back on it then, I should have left the lights off because it would have been so much cooler.
So, what got you? How do you guys came up with your guys' group name?
That was actually a former member that started with us. Actually, started with me. Actually, was my ex, and she actually come up with the name. She was with us only about two. We were together about 2, 3 years, and then I had Alan come in, and we just kind of skyrocketed ever since. Really.
Yep. Yeah, the name, um, we pretty much have always drawn off and learned from Ed and Lorraine Warren. They're probably the peak when it comes to our influences in this field, and they always had that old show of theirs, Seekers
Of the supernatural.
Supernatural, and that's kind of where our name originated
Yeah.
as an homage to Ed and Lorraine. So that's where the name came from.
Yeah, pretty much.
Very nice. So, when what was your very first locations when you guys first started investigating just the two of you?
Well, there's two old mining towns here that are no longer exist, and we really started on probably those two places mostly. And it just mostly started, with just taking pictures at night, and you'd see faces and these orbs and things. That's kind of how it started too.
Yep. I remember our first location together was actually the Ring of Trees in a small town called Roseville. And we've done quite a few investigations there recently. In fact, just this past Halloween, I was up there and we did an episode up there. Pretty intense.
Sorry about that. There's a plane driving by, so.
Well, yeah, I mean, the first place that we actually did together was the Ring of Trees, place called Roseville. It's basically cursed by this woman who murdered her 8-year-old boy and threw him down the crawl space of her home. And she did the same thing basically to her husband. And what basically came from there. She was basically hung, accused of witchcraft, and they buried her in this ring of trees, and it's just it just goes on from there. It's a pretty bad place.
So, what kind of evidence have you guys captured while you were there?
We've gotten a lot of ecto there, a lot of voices through the spirit box, tons of that kind of stuff. It's hard to explain what evidence we do get from a place like that. I mean, that's why we do the Facebook Live thing, is we want to get people literally involved so they can be there with us. But it's just when you're at that place, you can literally feel it. The noises that you hear, like the big legend of the Ring of Trees. And growing up, grew up sort of hall from Roseville, but they always said when I was going through school that, yeah, you have this place called the Ring of Trees. If you go in on Halloween night after midnight, you can't get out. And I heard that for years. And then when we started doing this, we did a Halloween special about 5, 6 years ago from the Ring of Trees. And we actually took a medium in there with us. And it was October 30th. And as soon as it went into midnight, you could be inside the ring. We were in the ring, and there's maybe 5 or 6 different openings between the trees that you can get through. Every opening you go to, you could actually hear someone like being hung right in front of you. The snap of the rope, the way it swings on the branches. So, and by the end of the night, the medium, she had to leave. It just got to be way too much for her.
Oh, wow. So, have you guys brought her back on your previous investigations to see if it was just that one location was really affecting her?
She actually, our very first trip to Bobby Mackey's in Wilder, Kentucky, she went with us down there. And as soon as we drove up over the knoll coming down to the place, I mean, she got literally sick to her stomach just driving in front of Bobby Mackey's. And
I did as well.
she was a wreck all night long. It was pretty rough on her.
Oh, wow. I've only been to Bobby Mackey's one time. It was just like a straight drive through because we had a case, I think it was at Stamsville Rectory, and we were just really close to Bobby Mackey, so we just took a drive over there and see it. And ever since then, I've always wanted to investigate that location.
It's definitely worth going.
Yeah, it's as bad as advertised. It's a pretty rough place.
Yeah, especially from all the stories that I've watched throughout the years and also reading. And yeah, it sounds like it's a really bad location. So you guys are taking a trip out to Gettysburg. I believe it's next weekend, right?
Yep.
And so can you tell us a little bit, what are you guys going to be doing in Gettysburg?
Well, what we're going to be doing is, we've been to Gettysburg a lot. And as you know, I mean, it's such a vast area to cover. There's just so much, endless places to go in Gettysburg. So what we decided to do, and we've talked about it for a few years now, is actually, booking a room at the Farnsworth, because we've always wanted to do the Farnsworth then. And we started doing the Facebook Live thing. So that got some gears going. So what we decided to do is we're going to get down there early on the 28th, and we're basically going to roll through straight for 24 hours. We're going to start on the battlefields, work our way around certain areas down there, and then we're going to go back to the Farnsworth, and then at 10:30 p.m. Eastern, we are going to go Facebook Live from the Jenny Wade room, so people can experience just how haunted the Farnsworth really is, because it is one of the most haunted buildings in the world. And then from there, after we get done at the Farnsworth, we're going to take the show to Sachs Bridge, and then keep working through the battlefield through morning. So it's going to be a long night.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, you guys will have a lot of fun at the Farnsworth house, because we actually just stayed at the Jenny Wade room. We really didn't experience anything that night. If it did, it was like really downpouring that night, so we didn't really hear anything, but our equipment did went off in the room. Like we were getting K2 hits, and we got some responses on our Obelisk 3 device, stuff
cool.
like that. And actually, if you guys do the investigation inside the house, and if you can get access to the basement, that's where you would like to be, because that's where me and my dad saw our very first full body apparition in Gettysburg.
That's awesome, man.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, most definitely.
Awesome. Well, what we've got, something we've got in store for the Jenny Wade room is we actually, when we did the Logan Inn,
Hope, Pennsylvania.
Yeah. And that dates back to the Revolutionary War, and that place that's really haunted. But what we did was there was a certain point where we actually left the room, but left all the cameras running, the digitals running, and we were only out of the room 15 minutes, and I mean, all hell broke loose in that room. There were doors getting slammed and stuff getting moved, all getting knocked around. And we found stuff when we came back in that was out of place. So what we're going to do in Gettysburg is at some point during the Facebook Live, we're going to actually leave the room and we're going to let the viewers see what goes on in that room. Because we've learned once you go into a place, and whether it's a spirit box or just talking to them, you get their attention, you bring them in, and being out in the battlefield, as long as we're going to be out there, there's going to be a lot of spirits that actually follow us. A lot of times spirits will follow you, but we're going to try and get as many of them as we possibly can to follow us back to the Farnsworth. But we're actually going to leave the room for maybe 15 minutes, and we're going to see what happens.
Just a little experiment, I guess.
Well, I really do wish you guys luck. So what kind of equipment are you guys going to be bringing with you to investigate the battlefield and also the Farnsworth house?
Basically, the equipment we use, it's not what people would expect. We have actually found out less equals more evidence. We run the PSB7 Spirit Box, and just a simple night vision setup, and that's pretty much it. And then we obviously the digitals, because we've learned when you go into a place, no matter where it is, I mean, like the big productions like Ghost Adventures, and I'm not knocking them at all, man. We love Zach; he's freaking awesome. But it's the companies when they take like hours and hours to set up equipment and lighting and everything else. We've learned the spirits have a tendency to sometimes they get bored with it, and they'll actually walk away from it. But if you just walk into a place and just automatically hit a spirit box and start talking to them, it's like they're right there. They're like, what is that? You know, and that's when you're telling them, of course, you can speak energy, and you just start getting activity upon activity upon activity. So we've always believed that less is more. You can get so much with so little.
Yeah, I do agree with what you're saying. We used to run like DVR equipment and stuff, static cameras and all that, but we cut down on that, and we do just use the Handycam night vision cameras, digital recorders, and just the Obelisk alone. And we do get evidence just like you guys get, like right there on the spot. Instead of setting up all that equipment, just what you got is more than enough.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I would really like to say thank you so much for coming on the Ghost Travelers podcast tonight. Do you guys have like a website or a YouTube channel for people can check out what you guys have and say hi?
Yeah, go straight onto Facebook, just log in and go type in Soul Seeker Supernatural. We'll be right there. You know, give us a like, follow us. That way you guys can pretty much ride along with us next weekend in Gettysburg. We have a YouTube channel, same name. I mean, we've got hundreds of investigations on there. You know, everything from Hillview Manor to Bobby Mackey's to the Vampire's Crypt. It's all on there. So.
And if you could, can you tell say it again of what time for the viewers can maybe tune into your episode on Facebook Live for Gettysburg next weekend?
Yep, it will be next weekend, November 28th and 29th, and we will be going live from the Jenny Wade Room at 10:30 p.m. Eastern on the 28th.
Well, guys, I really do wish you good luck in Gettysburg, and I hope you guys get a lot of evidence that night. And I'll be definitely be tuning in to see how you guys are doing, and
Awesome.
hopefully be live chatting with you and see how it goes. And also with the links that you just mentioned, I'll be putting it in the bottom of the description of this episode for new listeners, and my current listeners can check you guys out.
Very cool.
Okay, yes,
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Well, guys, thank you for listening. This is your host, PJ, with Ghost Travelers Podcast. Take care and travel safe.
Thank you.
All right. I'd like to say thank you to Alan and Chris for coming on the Ghost Travelers Podcast today. If you'd like to learn more about them, please head over to their Facebook page at Soul Seekers Supernatural. Also, you can join them on their live investigation this weekend while they're in Gettysburg. If you like this episode of Ghost Travelers Podcast, please consider on hitting that subscribe button so you don't miss a new episode. Thank you for your time with us, and this is your host, PJ, from Ghost Travelers Podcast. Take care and travel safe.